Welcome to a deep dive. We're jumping straight into a really powerful idea today. Something from source material we looked at that makes a pretty bold claim.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that the next 5 years of your life, like the actual path you take, whether you change things or stay stuck, might really just boil down to one surprisingly simple choice. Every single day.
It really hits home, doesn't it? Because, how many people feel they're genuinely trying, making plans, setting goals,
Right.
and then 5 years whip by and they look around and think, hang on, I'm basically in the same place.
Yeah.
This source kind of cuts through all that noise.
Yeah, it suggests the answer isn't some huge, complicated system or, an expensive course.
Exactly, not at all. It points to something way more fundamental, almost simple. Too simple, maybe.
That's what we want to figure out. So our mission here is to unpack what this source actually calls the one choice, dig into why it argues this single decision has so much leverage, and look at the practical steps it suggests.
Yeah, how to actually do it.
This is really for you listening, so you can get the core insights from this perspective without needing to wade through everything yourself.
And the source really paints a stark picture, doesn't it? It says, look, 5 years from now, you're going to look back.
Yep.
And you'll either think, wow, I built something amazing, or, wow, how am I still here? And it pins that whole difference on this one decision point.
And it's very clear, isn't it? It says this isn't about luck or finding the right opportunity or even buying the perfect planner.
Yeah.
It claims it's the foundational choice, the one that either pushes you forward or just leaves you drifting. So what is it? What's the seemingly small thing that supposedly changes everything?
Well, according to the source material we reviewed, it's the decision you make about the first intentional hour after you wake up.
Okay, wait, just the first hour. That feels, well, almost anticlimactic after talking about the entire next 5 years hanging on it.
I know, it sounds small.
Does the source really put that much weight on just 60 minutes right at the start of the day?
It absolutely does. And this is where it gets really interesting. The source builds a frankly compelling case for why this specific hour, this window, is so much more potent than any other time.
Okay.
It even calls hitting the snooze button the most expensive 9 minutes of your life. Not because of the lost time itself, but because of what you're not doing, what you're giving up by not claiming that hour.
All right, I'm intrigued. What's supposed to be happening then that makes it so critical? Is it just because it's quiet before texts and emails start?
That's part of it, sure. But the source goes deeper. It points right to your biology. It talks about studies suggesting your brain is significantly more focused, like potentially up to 40% more effective in that first hour or two.
40%. Wow.
Yeah, think of it like prime mental real estate. Before all the incoming noise, you've just got this raw cognitive potential ready to go.
So it's not just quiet time, it's
Yeah.
chemically better time.
That's exactly the argument.
Yeah.
You're running on this natural cocktail, peak dopamine, rising cortisol. It helps you wake up, but it also gives you this natural boost in focus and alertness.
Okay.
And the source argues that most people just let it slide. This incredible free biological edge just goes completely unused.
Wasted on what? Scrolling social media drama, first thing, checking headlines, hitting snooze again and again.
Precisely that. And the source contrasts this with, those people we often admire, the ones who seem to consistently build things, make progress.
Yeah.
It argues they're not necessarily doing some mystical ritual. They're just awake and deliberately using that initial focused brain state. It sort of reframes morning person into person who doesn't waste their biological prime time.
Yeah.
Subtle shift, but important.
Right, right. And if you do manage to grab that advantage, what does the source say happens? What do you unlock?
It talks about engaging something called flow-prone neuroplasticity.
Okay, flow-prone neuroplasticity. Can you break that down a bit? What's that mean in everyday terms?
Think of it like this. Your brain, right after waking, is kind of like wet cement.
Wet cement mode, okay.
Yeah. So whatever you actively pour into it during that first hour, productive thought, planning, learning, or just passive scrolling in news feeds, it starts to set the pattern. Not just for the day, but crucially for the long haul.
Ah, okay.
So if you immediately hit it with scattered notifications, random inputs, you're essentially cementing distraction, reactivity. But if you deliberately feed it focus, intention, something meaningful, you're cementing growth, intentionality.
So it's not just about getting stuff done in that hour. It's literally shaping your brain's default settings over time by using this unique state.
That's the absolute core idea. That 1 hour, it seems small day to day, right? But it compounds. The source even does the math. 1 hour a day, 365 hours a year. Over 5 years, that's 1,825 hours.
1,825 hours. That's a lot of hours.
It really is. It breaks down to over 76 full 24-hour days. 76 days of uninterrupted high-focus time pointed directly at your growth, your goals. While, as the source kind of jokes, most people are still looking for their other sock or getting lost in their email,
Yeah.
you've essentially banked months of dedicated, high-leverage work on building who you want to become. It's not about working harder. It's about using your biology and time smarter.
Okay, the why is definitely landing now. The chemistry, the focus, this neuroplasticity idea, the compounding, it makes sense. But practically then, if someone buys in, they manage to claim that hour. What does the source suggest they actually do? Is it just meditate, stare at a wall?
No, it's actually very practical. It gives a framework, sometimes calls it a power ritual. And it's not about having to wake up at 5 a.m.
Good.
The key is just claiming an hour consistently, whatever time works.
Yeah.
And it's just 5 simple steps within that hour.
Okay, lay them out for us. What are they?
All right. First, hydrate. Simple. Drink a big glass of water right away.
Yeah.
Rehydrate the brain, the body.
Easy enough. Okay.
Second, move. Do something physical. Stretching, quick walk, few push-ups, whatever. Just get the blood flowing.
Water, movement. Got it. Next.
Third, write down one goal, just one. Identify the single most important thing you want to accomplish that day. The source likens it to setting up the first domino, Gets things moving.
One key goal. Makes sense.
Fourth is learn. Spend some time reading a book, maybe listen to an educational podcast, watch a documentary snippet, actively engage your brain with something that helps you grow.
Feed the brain, right,
Yeah.
when it's in that wet cement state you mentioned.
Exactly. Feed it something good. And the fifth step,
What's the fifth?
protect. This hour is non-negotiable. You have to be like the Secret Service for this time block.
Okay.
No checking emails, no scrolling social media, no responding to texts until that hour is done.
Yeah.
Finished.
That last one, that sounds like it could be the toughest for a lot of people. Just shutting out the world before the day has even really started properly. Does the source give any tips beyond just protect it? How do you deal with that pull or maybe expectations from others?
It really comes back to the intentionality. Making the decision before you're really awake enough to argue with yourself about it, like a pre-commitment.
Decide the night before.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just make it an automatic habit. And it also ties this protection directly to the leverage idea we talked about. You guard the hour because you understand its compounding power.
Right.
The cost of letting distractions creep in isn't just losing those few minutes. It's losing that massive future leverage. That's the mindset shift.
This definitely feels like it goes beyond just, having a productive morning routine. The source seems to connect this whole act to something deeper.
Absolutely. There's a line in there that says essentially, this isn't just about mornings, it's about identity.
It's about identity. Okay. How does claiming 1 hour connect to who you are?
And this, I think, is maybe the most powerful piece of it. The source argues that every single time you choose to claim that hour, choose to act intentionally,
Yes.
especially when you don't feel like it, when no one's watching, you're casting a vote.
A vote?
A vote for the future version of yourself you want to be. You're voting for the disciplined you, the focused you, the you who directs their own life. You're basically building trust with yourself, proving through action, not just intention, that you are the kind of person who follows through, who prioritizes growth, who builds their life on purpose.
So you're not just planning to be that person someday. You're actively becoming them with these small, consistent steps every morning.
Exactly that. The source argues pretty convincingly, I think, that the people who really transform things aren't born with some kind of superhuman willpower. They just stacked enough of those votes, day after day, week after week, in that quiet first hour, and over 5 years. Those 1,825 hours of focused, intentional action. That's not just time spent productively. It's an identity forged. While others might be, say, binge-watching shows, you're kind of binge-building your future self.
It really does come back to that simple idea, doesn't it? Small hinges swing big doors.
Yeah.
And the source is adamant that the main hinge isn't some complex secret formula or expensive program. It's this one, consistent choice, right at the start of the day.
And it's realistic, too. The source acknowledges, you won't feel like a totally different person tomorrow morning.
Right, probably not.
Or maybe even next week. But it insists,
Yeah.
keep showing up for that hour, keep stacking those votes, do it for 90 days, 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
And you will absolutely start to see that different person emerge, the one who is actively making their future happen, who is taking control of their time, who isn't just waiting for life to happen to them.
But as the source also points out, the other option is always there.
Oh, absolutely. You can always hit snooze. You can always give your best brain power, that prime time, to other people's demands, other people's agendas popping up on your phone.
Yeah.
You can let another year and then another 5 years just sort of slip by, watching other people maybe live out the kind of life you once pictured for yourself.
Which brings us full circle, really, to the central argument from the source material we've been exploring, that the path of your next 5 years hinges, maybe more than we think, on the power of claiming that first intentional hour.
Right. It's not about chasing some magic bullet or external fix. It's about leveraging what's already there, that unique biological window, that temporal advantage.
And those practical steps, hydrate, move, goal, learn, protect, they offer a pretty clear, actionable roadmap for how to actually seize that hour and point its power towards your own growth, your own purpose.
It's simple structure.
But the real transformation it describes, it isn't just about fixing your mornings, is it? It's about consistently casting those votes, building that identity through deliberate action, especially when it's quiet and no one else is checking up on you.
Yeah, it's that quiet compounding process of building yourself from the inside out.
So the source leaves you, the listener, with a pretty direct, maybe even uncomfortable challenge. The next 5 years, they're coming anyway. That's a given.
That clock is ticking, yeah.
So based on this perspective we've unpacked, here's the final thought to maybe wrestle with. Will you spend those unavoidable next 5 years intentionally building your future, hour by compounding hour, starting with how you greet the day?
Or will you, as this source suggests, perhaps spend them watching someone else's success story unfold instead? The leverage and the choice really starts the moment that alarm goes off.